fabulous. Don't you wanna try it?
Don't you want to try it? So in our first kickoff episode, we are diving into reviewing the Esti app. ESTI, the Esti app. You can find it in your app stores. And here's the $1,000,000 question I have on App Fabulous today. Is Esti the aesthetic editor that really makes your feed look expensive? Well, I'm here to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. You know what? It really doesn't even matter what app it is. I just am going to tell you the truth of my own experience. That's all that I can do. And then if I do have different referral links or I have try it for free links, I will always share what I have. Okay, so what is the Esti app actually used for? So the first thing we're going to get into typically are just the what, and then the pros and cons, and why. Why do I think you should try it? I mean, maybe I think you shouldn't try some of these. I don't know. We're going to see as we find out. And I would love for your feedback along the way. I'll drop my Instagram, my socials, all that kind of jazz in the show notes. My name is Justine, and I will be your favorite certified AI specialist guide here, among many other hats I have worn through the years. So here's the main keyword, though, of this episode, Esti app, and this is a review here on App Fabulous. So creators often, we want cohesive aesthetics. And I'm thinking Instagram feeds, stories, LinkedIn feeds, LinkedIn video now. And we don't want to spend 3 hours on every post. If I get an amen, I get an amen, and put that in the comments for me. But here's the thing. This is not a planning tool. So Esti, here's what I'll tell you. Esti is not a planning tool. It's here to make your content look like you are having sparkling water. You are using the finest cotton linen sheets spread out on a beach overlooking the ocean as the waves crash onto your perfectly pedicured toes. That was a lot, but I want to give you an idea because if you're an aesthetics person like I am, and you just love when things look beautiful, whether that's a modern look, whether it's a bold look, it's a minimalist look, it's a flashy or retro look, I love good design. It doesn't mean that all of it fits you and your personality or the things you might want or need for your social media, but it does do a heck of a job at creating a common clean aesthetic or vibe that you're going for. So at the end of the day, Esti is really an aesthetic photo editor is how I would categorize it. And it helps you curate this consistent look mainly by using specific templates that are especially designed and optimized for Instagram content, as well as presets and filters. Now, one of the coolest things that I want to share, we've talked a little bit about what is the Esti app, and I just defined that for you all. It is an aesthetic photo editing app, mainly filled with presets and filters, as well as aesthetic templates, okay? But what is it really best for? On the days when it's like, okay, today I want to post something I cooked, but tomorrow I want to post something about a research report I'm publishing. This can really help with the cohesion so that if I'm putting out different types of content and maybe that could feel a little busy, you can go look at my feeds. Believe me, I leave it on display. I will tell on myself and you can see the patterns. If you go deep into the feeds, you will see my patterns. You will see how I've tried different things, and I leave that up for you guys to see that journey. So the other thing that Esti is really good for is if you want a quick story design that looks good for a video or a story of some sort, and you want it to have like some little Polaroid frames, you want it to look like your desktop. But if you want some cool little things like that and you just consistently use those templates, it's also good. And then finally, you don't need to be a pro. I have never taken any editing courses. that's not a brag. I take a lot of different type of learning because I love learning, but my hubby is the editing extraordinaire, to be honest. So in our partnership, he is very much precise when it comes to audio editing, video editing, and understanding how those pieces work together. But here's the cool thing. I like Esti. He doesn't necessarily use it or know about a lot of aesthetic ones because it's really more for those of us who we don't have that pro level of editing knowledge, but it still gives you that signature look. So those are all of the things that I feel like Esti does. It has helped my grid specifically on Instagram to not look as chaotic as sometimes it felt trying to communicate the ideas in my brain and put them into design. And then what to watch out for. If you don't customize the presets, so once you're inside the app, if you decide to try Esti out, you have to be really careful because aesthetic tools in general, not just Esti app, okay, but they can make everything look so polished that it ends up all looking very much like the same. And then there's not really any personality or dimension. It's a very curated feed. Now, you know what? There's some people, y'all keep your homes that way. It's very curated. It always looks the same. I have some family members like that. I also have family members who are more so like me. We like having some art pieces. We like having books and flowers and herbs, and almost like our homes are beautiful, but they're livable and they're workable. Meaning we might have a beautiful display of flowers, but it's dual purpose because I'm looking at it right now, actually, in my kitchen. I have this beautiful glass jar with a lid, and it holds these beautiful flower petals. They're rose petals, right? Well, I use those in teas and some other herbal blends. So it's functional because it's a way for me to store rose petals. It's the same thing. Esti is functional because it's a way to easily input your content, videos and pictures. You can do both. And it's a visual identity shortcut, so to speak. But if you only rely on the existing presets, which they do give you about 25 to 30 to work with, along with presets of if you say, hey, I want this picture to look like I took it with a 35 millimeter camera, you can do that. You can switch out cameras so that it looks as though you took that content with a specific type of camera and you were shooting it with that type of camera. But if you only rely on those presets that the app has custom designed and you don't go in and you don't play with contrast, the grain, the colorization, the different filters, which is actually my hot nerd verdict. So every time I'm going to give you a hot nerd verdict. Where are all the hot nerds at? I believe that's everybody, because guess what? If you look in the mirror and you love yourself and you accept yourself, you're hot. You're hot, doggone it. So my hot nerd verdict for this App Fabulous episode, all about the Esti app, is that it is definitely a visual identity shortcut. Working with the templates will help you know what you like and you don't like, and especially designing your own custom filters like I do inside of Esti. You can save them, and then that can be your go-to to create more cohesion. So it does build your consistency fast, but my hot nerd verdict, I strongly recommend with any tools you try, sprinkle in your originality like how you season a good meal. Okay. And I know that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. We all have different taste buds, right? But that's what good design is about. In my opinion, it's about standing out and making your own voice clear. Not everyone's going to like it. Not everyone's going to resonate with it, but you have to be clear on it. Okay. So all of that to say, just make sure that you make it your own. And also, there is limitations. You are given there's a few different categories. Let me run through those really quick just so you have. What are the categories that Esti gives you? So before you go and download this yourself, let me be the templates, the number of them you get. They always have new, which is a section of new ones. They usually release about 6 to 8 templates at a time. You have a collection of clean templates. So in this section of clean templates, for example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 templates in that collection. So there are 4 different collections: clean, Polaroid, films, and frames. So very easy to navigate. That's another pro for this, especially if you really haven't been editing content like that or just haven't for a while. Under Polaroid, there's only 4 templates. Films, there is 6 templates. And then under the frames category, which I personally love because I love collage and it has that effect with some movement and motion, there is 10. So all in all, you have maybe about 40 templates. That's why it's so important once you have that template, which is really your frames that you dump your pictures and your video and content into. That's why it's so important then that you make it your own with the colorization, the lighting, the sparkles, the shimmer, everything that you can do to then edit and refine once you've selected your template you're going to work with. So, all right, if you want more in-depth details and even more links to ideas and programs, I'm going to link a blog write-up, which is very, very in-depth, and it accompanies this App Fabulous episode. I will link that below, and it is all about the Esti app and what is the app used for. But in this article, I also give a 10-minute workflow of how you step by step, if you need a more technical look at like, okay, you talking about this, Justine? That's not going to teach me. Okay, I get it. So you are going to then click on the blog below and it will take you right to appfabulous.ai, and it will give you a rundown of then also the rules to follow. I've put together 5 quick aesthetic rules to follow, and then also when Esti shines best and when you should be cautious. So for example, one of the giveaways that I give in the limitation sections is that if you need advanced retouching, say that you had a photo shoot and you really want to have complex composites or precise skin work, you're going to pair Esti with a more dedicated editor like Lightroom or Photoshop. And Esti versus alternatives, there's some comparisons I've given as well with Esti, Lightroom, Canva, etc. And then I give you a full rundown of the pricing, the value. And one of the cool highlights I found in just researching the app, but also being a user of it for over a year, is I will tell you, and this will be the next episode that one of the next episodes that we dive into is on Beacons AI. Beacons AI has helped me really look at the analytics of social media. And what I can tell you is that when I've used Esti app consistently over the past year and really cleaned up some of my feeds and my design work, that my engagement as well as my followership has grown by the thousands. So that's just my own personal checking it. But there's also another example that I give you under the pricing and value in this blog article. I give you some final thoughts, and also just to remind you, no app is a magic wand. They are all frameworks that someone developed. And when you are using an app with intention, which might be something like using smart presets inside of the Esti app, it becomes a really powerful time saver for all of us. And that elevates your brand without having you have to become a full-time editor. And that's actually what I've needed. I've needed that for multiple brands that I have and that I have been developing and created through the years. So when you're trying out something like Esti, I would just say try a cohesive batch of content this week, pick a preset, apply the micro tweaks so it's quick, and then compare your before and after grid. And you'll likely find that you're going to slowly shave off hours of your workflow, but you will also gain back the most valuable thing of all, which is what my hope is that any of these apps help any of us do: reclaiming your creative energy and you choosing how to prioritize that. So this has been a review of the Esti app, ESTI, on App Fabulous. I will always link the apps for you in the show notes. And then also I want to encourage you, our sponsor for the App Fabulous podcast. It is the official podcast of Teach Techies. Teach Techies is my free online learning community, and you can hop into that with the school link below. There you can find so many more programs, upcoming live labs, and this is all free. It's specifically tailored to help educators and entrepreneurs with branding, with understanding different apps, with understanding how to use large language models, etc. Nothing is a magic wand. Like I said earlier, nothing's a magic wand. So let's be realistic. And my hot nerd verdict is I would definitely try it. And I'm also biased because I've used Esti for about a year. So without any more words, until next time, then don't you want to try it?
App fabulous, don't you wanna try it?